Recording in progress.
Good evening, folks. We're just going to give it a minute or two just to let people join and get settled. You're very welcome. Welcome everyone this evening to the Healthcare PG Cert Healthcare Innovation Open Evening. We have a Q&A available, so please do feel free at any time ask us a question, and I'll make sure that those questions get aired. I was about to say it's a lovely day, but then I realized I don't think I've been outside today, but it is actually quite a nice, it's a good October day. Now, just give it another minute. Just let everybody come in, just in case anybody's listening to the Angelus. How long does the Angelus last? Full minute, is it? Full minute. Okay, the session is being recorded, so if anybody does wish to catch up as they come in, that's absolutely no problem. Folks, you're all very, very welcome here this evening to this open evening for the Postgraduate Certificate in Healthcare Innovation. My name is Gillian Roddy, and I am one of the program managers here in Tangent. And the Postgraduate Certificate in Healthcare Innovation is one of the programs that I work on. We're coming into the fourth iteration. That word iteration is something that you will hear quite a lot of when you come to join us in our classrooms. But we're now on the fourth cohort of the PG Cert in Healthcare Innovation, and I've been working on it since its inception, as has my guest this evening, Dr. John McKeown. So I'm thrilled to be speaking to John this evening. So what we're going to be doing is John and I are going to have a little bit of a chat about the course, who it's for, what you can expect to get from it. As I said, please do feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A box, because we're here to answer those questions. But I'm really interested to talk to John this evening, always am. John has an absolutely fascinating background as one of the Trinity entrepreneurs in residence. Not only that, John has a wonderful background in medicine, and is CEO of Allergy Standards. So John, I'm going to hand over to you in just a moment and we'll get the conversation going. But just to say that unfortunately, Dr. Alison Keogh isn't able to join us this evening, but we will be hearing from Alison later on in video form. So be sure that you check that out as well. And Alison, both Alison and John will be delivering on the program. So John, good evening. It's great to chat to you. Always is.
Yeah, likewise. Very much enjoy my innovation conversations with Tangent and yourself, Jill. So delighted to be here.
But that's the thing, John, innovation conversations are inherently fun, aren't they? When you talk about innovation, what is it about it, though, that makes it so enjoyable to have the conversations?
Well, I suppose that we talk a lot about flow, and that's the right balance between being slightly stretched out of your comfort zone, but also being comfortable in the area you're talking about. And innovation happens in that area when you're in flow. And it gives us an opportunity to, particularly when you come to Tangent and you do a course like this, is having that luxury of time, which we're also time pressed these days. So much attention, everybody's trying to take our attention. So to have that ability to have a conversation like we are, take things in different directions and different angles, and also be inspired speaking to different people that isn't your everyday working. You're physically in a new environment, that you're getting new material from the lecturers, you're talking to your new classmates, and it's just an opportunity to reframe and rethink your approach to your work.
Now, John, you've touched on some really interesting points there that I want to pick up. So if we're mindful that, the people in the audience, most people will likely be coming from a healthcare background or working in the front line or associated areas. time and alternative ways of thinking, these are things that you wouldn't commonly associate, with working in the healthcare sector. So can you tell me a little bit, perhaps John, tell us a little bit about your journey, like how you went from medicine then into entrepreneurship, and how did you find that journey, making all of those mindset changes?
Yeah. Okay. So first, you're talking about time is being a resource, and we're all competing for resources. And I think particularly within the constraints of the healthcare system, it is resource constrained, whether it's time, our attention, or physical resources like money and infrastructure. So rethinking and being resourceful, not just relying on resources, is innovation. And it's design thinking. It's a lot of the principles as a program. We are going to have to rethink and reframe how we deliver medicine. And that kind of mindset change is why I think this program is so interesting. The other is, you mentioned about healthcare professionals. The innovation now is not just from the medics or the doctors or the nurses. It's coming from that word you use, frontline workers. And that's something we've heard so much over the pandemic, is the role and the importance of the frontline worker, wherever we are, and the increasing in expectations of the frontline worker, and a renewed appreciation of what people do. So that kind of combination of raised expectation, the raised pressure, and resource constraints, the only answer to that is innovation, and reframe and rethinking how we're going to work. The old way of business as usual is not going to be good enough going forward. And we like to use the phrase future proofing. And that's what innovation is. And part of the stuff we do on the program is deconstructing all these complex words that sometimes put people off innovation and intellectual property. And we make it really practical about innovating and where they're working. But from my own personal career, I went to Trinity many years ago, 1990 to 1996, and I worked as an intern in the old Adelaide and the old Meath Hospital. I then came back to Trinity and taught anatomy and did my fellowship at the Royal College of Surgeons. And then I worked as a surgeon in the New Tower Hospital and as an A&E doctor. But I've always been an innovator and at heart. I kind of come from a medical family, and certainly the old way of the paradigm in Ireland. I grew up in England, my parents are Irish, was you had to just do the professions. It was like medicine or law and Trinity or UCD. So I ended up in medicine, but innovation entrepreneurship has been very much my passion. And I had a couple of ideas through med school about potential innovations, and I was able to pitch the idea to Enterprise Ireland, and we got early seed funding, and then we got some business angels and venture capitals, and then we had some breakthroughs, some big brands in America. And my medical career, my clinical career kind of dialed down, and I job shared with somebody in A&E for a while and used to do the night shifts and worked in my business during the day. And then my business kind of took off, and now I'm not in formal clinical medicine anymore. I do hope to go back, but I'm mainly on the business side of things. But I found that journey quite difficult as being trained, it's very deep domain knowledge, as it's a medical professional, then having to change that mindset. In medicine, we're always taught to have all the answers and to look like you're the trusted professional, and you can't deal with ambiguity. You need to know the answers all the time. So having that shift in being comfortable with ambiguity and innovating and not having all the answers, and doing minimal viable products and early prototyping, that was quite a shift. And that's one thing I really enjoy, working with the people on the cohorts of the healthcare professionals, because some of them are from business background, they're managers of healthcare facilities, some are pharmacists, some are physios, some are dentists, some are doctors, and we got a really wide set of cultures and ideas and great diversity within the course, and bringing that all together for the common goal of improving lives, because that's what our vocation is as medical professionals. It's a really, really interesting mix.
It is. It's a wonderful mix. And I think that's something, and this is something that we're very cognizant of on the design side as well, that We're very conscientious of the fact that everybody who comes into our courses, and John, I'm going to ask you a little bit more about this, who are the type of people who we've seen on the courses, and it is a very diverse set of people. But we're very cognizant of the fact that we create courses specifically designed for adult learners. And part of adult learner theory says that adult learners learn best when things are relatable and when adult learners are bringing something to the table. So, and this is something that we draw on all the time in class. And John, you're great for doing that, is getting people to talk about their experiences and where they're coming from and what they're doing. So John, can you tell us a little bit about, who have the people been who we've seen on the course previously?
Yeah. Well, just on that point about getting everybody to we like to teach people frameworks, and then we step back and we let the conversation start, and we get people to solve each other's problems. And I'm always really disappointed that we're very strict on getting assessments. What was this lecture like? How was I like? And always the feedback from the classes when they spoke to each other, they learned the most, which is kind of a challenge as giving the content. But that's great. They always feel the best cohort, the learning was when they actually had conversations, structured conversations, and we give them the tools to have that, but with their peers, and they feel that that's the best learning rather than people like me. But we design it deliberately that way. But it's everybody. I mean, when I worked in clinical medicine, I worked in A&E, and A&E, or accident emergency, ER, they call it in America. We work in teams, and it's really, really important, that kind of teaming structure, whether it's the domestic staff, to the physios, to the nurses, the administration staff. When we run a resuscitation or a major trauma call, before, during, and after, it's all about communication and learning from people how that process could have gone better, immediate feedback loops, speaking to allied healthcare professionals, liaising with radiology, the in-house surgical team. And that idea that everybody can innovate and everybody has input into delivery of healthcare. It's not just in the domain of say, the doctors or just the nurses or the physios. We don't operate in silos anymore. It's not the doctors over there and the nurses over there and the pharmacy over there. It's how we can actually break down those silos and have those innovative conversations. And that can be quite difficult to do. Sometimes there can be politics in healthcare. We know sometimes there can be toxic relations. So we spend a lot of time on mindset and culture and how that has to change. And it's quite brave to be vulnerable in those situations. But we really want the people who do this program to have really solid knowledge and frameworks. So when they go back, we used to call this program the ambassadors in healthcare. We want the innovators and the people who actually come on this program to bring back, part of our mission and the reason why we designed the program is so keen on it, is we want to improve the life of people in Ireland. So we want everybody on this course. We want as many stakeholders, diverse points of view. The problems of delivery of healthcare in this country will not be solved by any individual group. We would like to bring patients into the conversation, and we teach people how to get structured conversations, role-playing of day case surgery from the patient's perspective, the hospital administrator's perspective. So we have not only good tools to change mindset, but also really solid, robust learning frameworks that people can then bring that back and make a practical difference to where they work.
And you're right, John, and those practical tools. And I think there's, and as you're speaking about it, the thing that I'm thinking about, I'm actually remembering seeing a tweet from one of our previous students who had used it was a customer journey map, and had used it to develop out a program, and she tweeted about it. It was amazing to see one of the frameworks in the wild, as it were.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, that when we talk about, I think that what a lot of people associate around education is the learning of new ideas. And that is absolutely what this is. But this isn't having to sit down and, learn new anatomy or learning things off rote. The frameworks that we use, it's almost like it helps to shift perspective. It's shifting that mindset. So John, I'm thinking about that, and I won't give away any trade secrets, but I'm thinking of that wonderful exercise you do, and you just kind of alluded to it, that persona development, where actually what you're doing is you're not necessarily learning new information per se. You are learning how to look at a problem in a different way, in a new way.
Yeah.
And that framework also, it's so accessible that once you know it, you can bring it to the table of colleagues, as you say, and be the ambassador, show the change and help people to develop that different perspective.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of the things we try to bring back to medicine as well. So, as a doctor, a healthcare professional, you're taught about how to diagnose problems, and the way you start diagnosing a problem, you diagnose. You'll listen, and then you'll order tests, and then you'll have a treatment plan. And that's how you do the business of medicine. But part of that, as a doctor, is about empathic listening and really sitting with your patient, taking a history, doing an examination, and really trying to understand from the signs and the symptoms what the actual root cause is and making a diagnosis. But then when we bring to medicine, we have this kind of one size fits all solution. Well, that works there, it should work there. Like if I gave you somebody my glasses and said, well, look, they work for me. Well, these are my glasses because you've really come from my empathic position of what my needs are. And in medicine, in business, we fail to apply that empathic listening. And one of those exercises we do is actually, how do you walk in a patient's shoes? So it's not sympathy, it's empathy, and really understanding the world from their perspective. And when you do that, you're patient-centered or you're people-centered. That's what design thinking is. It's people-centered design or patient-centered design. And then you can actually get on to actually develop real solutions when you've done that empathic listening exercise. Or you can do it from the position of the physio. Like, why do I have to go all the way down to X-ray to fill out a form when it can be done this way? And we start to actually walk in people's shoes and really understand from their perspective. And then when you've done that exercise, then you actually innovate effectively. Otherwise, you're just giving out new things to people that don't work. And we hear so many times that innovations fail because some higher up person's thought it's going to be a good idea and it's foisted upon people. So that whole exercise, a lot of it again mirrors just being a good healthcare professional, which is about true innovation starts with empathic listening.
Absolutely. And John, this ties back into something that you said earlier, that I think that one of the wonderful things about courses like this, and when you look at innovation, is that hierarchy tends to go out the window because it's people at every single level in every single role who can bring the true insights that are needed. In fact, we rely on that diversity. We rely on all of those different perspectives. So, can you give us, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I mean, what's happening right now in terms of healthcare innovation? What are the big conversations that are happening? Are there any particular focus points?
Yeah, I think one of the things, again, as a medic, that fascinates me is that there's so much work done on the neuroscience of innovation. And I know we have Dr. Robertson in Trinity, who's a world leader on this area, but we know that the human brain is designed for, in certain situations, fight or flight. So if there's a saber-toothed tiger, our focus, when we get stressed, our focus goes right down to run away from that saber-toothed tiger as quickly as possible. So you mentioned about hierarchy, and I mentioned about toxic cultures. When we talk about a lot on the innovation programs, this idea of psychological safety. So there's no egos on this program. You don't bring our titles. We don't call people Dr. this or Mr. that. All that baggage is left outside, and we come in and we innovate with no hierarchy. Because what happens then, when you have that psychological safety, it's been shown now by perfusion scans of brains. You have your amygdala, and everybody will know about what their amygdala is, and people get hijacked by their amygdala. It's your reptilian brain. And if people get fearful or they're anxious, you cannot innovate in that situation. But when you can actually do exercises we do here, which will really encourage these kind of creative exercises, people start to use their prefrontal cortex, the higher part of their brain, and we can actually innovate. And that's really important. And I think that's one of the really exciting things that's happening is people are now looking at innovative cultures, how innovation flourishes, that concept of psychological safety, and then mapping it actually what physiologically is happening in brain science. So what we do here, and as you know, I don't want to name drop, but I will. I've done a lot of all the innovation courses in MIT and Stanford and Harvard, and we've actually brought so many of that, and also what we do best in Trinity. Because don't forget, Trinity is a university, and the business school, and particularly Tangent, is very diverse and brings all the humanities and literature, as well as obviously science and the medical school together. And we really have a unique, innovative program, bringing the best of all the leading edge innovation tools people are using.
John, this ties perfectly into, we've had a question from somebody in the audience. One of the issues that I would love to address is how to implement design thinking before a high-level project plan is agreed. All too often, initiatives and plans are made long before any meetings of stakeholders, which would facilitate design thinking. So this ties in really nicely with what you've just been saying. And I'm going to just preface this by saying that I think this is one of the very practical beauties about the course like this, is that it's a Trinity. It's a fully accredited program from Trinity that centers around design thinking and innovative thinking from the outset. So there is an element of validating of, the theories around design thinking through the course. But John, have you got any comments about that? How do you get design thinking or innovative thinking in right from the very seeds of a plan?
Yeah, well, it comes back to culture, and we do another one that's very similar to the design thinking model, which is the innovation pentathlon. That's another one of the frameworks I teach, but it talks about what's underpinning your innovation strategy, and it has to be aligned to the goals, the fundamental goals of the organization, whether that's a hospital or a football team. Is what's our outcome? And the cliche, beginning with the end in mind. What's really the outcome? So often innovation and initiatives and new projects in general are, as I said, pushed down from somebody else. That we need to do this. But fundamentally, what's our outcome? What's going to be new at the end of this innovation process? Is there going to be a new business process, a new business model, a new product, a new service, a new way of doing things? And if we're absolutely clear on our outcomes, then we begin with the end in mind. And those outcomes need to be in line with the organizing vision or the overarching goals of that organization. But then what needs to sit on top of that innovation pyramid of that pentathlon is the communications and also the leadership of the organization. And when they're all aligned, the leadership, the communications with internally to get collective buy-in, to get support of that, and it's sitting on top of the goals of the organization, the innovation funnel will work. And what often happens is projects are started, but we haven't really done what we call innovate the fuzzy front end.
Yeah.
And we teach this, the double diamond, which is actually the problem statement area, and really doing a deep dive. What's the root cause analysis? And then the solution area. And so many times people go, I assume I know what the problem is. I'm going to design a really effective solution for the wrong problem. You were talking earlier about this isn't just another technical course. And so many times we see digital healthcare or a course on digital medicine or digital transformation in healthcare delivery. But if you don't do an innovation program like this at the front of that, and if you just digitize poor processes, you're just going to get faster inefficiencies and get more rubbish. So before you want to go and do another course, which could be a digital innovation course, I really strongly recommend to fundamentally do a foundation course like this and get mindset and culture of innovation right before you do any other technical skills.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more, John. And this is the same applies across the board in terms of approaches to innovation. So this segues nicely. I'll just briefly talk about the structure of the course. So it's a 3-module course. And that first module is all about innovations in healthcare, innovation practices. And one of the things, as time has gone by, what we're really doing more and more and more is we're really focusing on that problem space. What we want to do is get people, we are inherently uncomfortable with problems because we're driven by a solution society. You know, it's something that it's just embedded into us. And this is part of that mindset piece, is that in that first module, we try to get people comfortable with just sitting in the problem, sitting in the ambiguity, and getting comfortable with the fact that it is, and I love that phrase, it's fuzzy, it's not clear cut. There often isn't a straightforward solution. So that first module is a lot about the problem and figuring out what the problem is, peeling back all of the onion layers. Then in the second module, we move into opportunity generation and recognition and communication in healthcare. And so this is where we start to drill down into some of the healthcare trends. And we work with some of the TCD staff who are working at healthcare frontline, and we drill down into what some of the trends look like and what potential innovations might be. Now, the great thing about that is these are trends, and that you will find similarities and parallels to whatever area you were in. And this ties into a question that we've been asked. The third module is around enterprise development. How do you take those ideas? How do you take that process reformation and turn it into a business idea? And so enterprise development, again, is that little bit more about business. Now, we don't go into a huge amount of, because there's a question here asking, does the course facilitate the funding aspects that are associated with implementing the innovation? And the answer is yes, but only at a high level. And so what we do is we point you in the direction of where lots of other funding information can be found. So we're kind of cognizant of the fact that it's a 20-week postgraduate certificate, and there's limitations to what we might be able to provide, but we provide you with all of the high level information, and we will signpost where to find out more information. So we would work very closely with a variety of different bodies to help with this. So the journey is one of figuring out what the problem is and what innovation looks like. How do we get comfortable in that? Moving into how do we spot what new ideas look like? And when we have that new idea, how do we make the most of it? And then in module 3, it comes into enterprise development, which is how do you build a business or an enterprise around that? So the course is going to begin in January, and it will run, each module will be 4 weekends, with Friday afternoon being run online, and all day Saturday will be here in the Tangent classrooms. And John, we were just talking about this earlier. One of the things that's most exciting about this is we started the postgraduate certificate in healthcare innovation during COVID. And so now this is the first time we're going to be able to truly go back to that blended learning format. And we're really excited because, as you said, the conversations that come out of classroom are just, the peer-to-peer learning is as important as anything else we do.
Well, I mean, innovation is a contact sport. It's about standing up. So many times we see new ideas and people deliver them. And it's kind of one of these kind of psychological tricks we teach during, is you kind of knee to knee. It's quite adversarial. I'm talking to you, you're talking to me. Immediately you've got mirror neurons, you suddenly shut down and you start defending your ideas, and it becomes this kind of conversation. Whereas we're in that beautiful space. And again, to name drop as well, I have studied in Stanford, MIT, Harvard. I haven't been in as nice a physical space as what you have in Tangent. It's just the beautiful views over College Park, where it is physically. You can get a nice cup of coffee and the beautiful old buildings and everything. Then you've got this spectacular modern building and all of it. It's just a space that really just gets the prefrontal cortex firing. But the way we do stuff, we've got so much space, we've got big whiteboards, we can move around, we've got a modular room, we can change it to cabaret style seating, breakout, beanbags, whatever you want, we've got it all. So it just, people can actually brainstorm ideas where we're all actually looking up at the same board. I'm not actually looking at you in a classroom situation where we're kind of just being lectured at. This is very much participated learning, and we're actually co-creating and collaborating together. And I just think that's the way we want to learn now as adults. And you have that physical space, which is, as I said, it's very collaborative and conducive to learning and great fun as well. And we pitch ideas. We have like mini pitch projects and mini dragons dens and little kind of competitions and everything, and make it really participatory, because we know the evidence shows that if you write something down You might retain about 10% of it after 3 weeks, but Bloom's taxonomy, again, the neuroscience backs this up. If it's participating learning, if you turn around and then you explain to your classmates what we've designed here, a minimal viable product, that really, really sticks. And then you can bring it back and you've got that confidence to actually do that with your peers because you've done it as a role play in class.
Exactly. Absolutely. And again, beautifully leading from this, there's another, do you need a healthcare academic background for the course? We have a number of staff members that are working in our healthcare institution, but they're not healthcare professionals. So the short answer is no, you don't have to be a healthcare professional. We would see a majority of healthcare professionals applying for the course, but what's more important is that we do require a level 8. So you do need an honours degree to apply for the course. And I did notice in the chat, and thank you so much to Tanya for putting it in, or for my colleagues. Get the applications in early because we are giving places on a rolling basis. So all of the applications are being assessed as they come in. But no, you don't have to be from a healthcare background. Again, this ties into that idea that we welcome diversity of thought. So if somebody is working in a healthcare setting, but does not have a healthcare background, that's bringing a different perspective, which will add to the insights. So we one of the things that we try very hard to do is, it's what, like John mentioned, that's psychological safety, making sure that we have a space where people feel that they're able to bring their own experiences to the table. So yeah, absolutely, Alison. From IBTS, everybody there would have a perspective on the processes, on the experiences. Absolutely. Very welcome to apply.
Yeah, just add to that, you said the short answer is no, and the long answer is no as well. We need like most breakthroughs are break with traditional thinking. And to use a Nelson Mandela expression, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And nobody's going to fix the issues we have here if it's just, the team, and great for the cliches tonight, but the team that got you into the first division isn't going to keep you there. So if we bring the same thinking to the same problem, we won't solve the problem. We need diversity of thinking. Someone to go, well, hold on. What if, or why do we always do it like that? Somebody goes, geez, just because we always have done that. But that kind of disruption, those new voices, I'm not sure about the technical honours degree and all that stuff, but certainly we don't need just more doctors to solve this issue. We need diversity of thinking to solve the challenges in healthcare.
Absolutely. And another question, so Alison, or Ailish, my apologies, it's healthcare and associated sectors, I think is the most encompassing way I describe it. So you don't need to be on the front line. It's healthcare and associate sectors would be the best way to describe it. So folks, keep throwing in any questions that you have. We're going to wrap up now, and we'll hear from Dr. Alison Keogh in a few minutes. But John, bearing in mind that it's Friday afternoons, it's Saturdays, it's going to be a really rich environment, but just in case anybody needs a little bit of further convincing, why should people be rushing to sign up for the course?
Well, it's limited, so they could miss out. So genuinely, it is. There's only a certain amount of people we can take, and it's always oversubscribed. And I think you can just see from the alumni and the testimonials that it's something that's very desirable to get onto. And we're very, we don't say that in an arrogant way, but we've worked really hard to build this, and we're very proud of it. And we've continued to get the funding to continue the course, which is own endorsement. So it's a really special course. As I said, I've studied and trained and taught all around the world, and this is top world class. And I think if you're a allied healthcare professional related to healthcare, you're in the business of improving lives. That's your vocation. You're driven by that. I wouldn't imagine you're in it for the money. You're in it to actually make a difference and be the best professional person you can be. And this will help you do that. It also will look very good on your CV. This is going to help your career. Don't get me wrong. And Jill mentioned about kind of funding. If you are an entrepreneur or a startup entrepreneur like myself, and you go to a venture capitalist looking for money, and you've done a course like this is going to significantly, because they'll know you've gone through the problem identification, the research with the Trinity researchers. Then how do you actually get your resources, and then how do you execute on your plan? You've gone through a fundamental course like this. So I think for those reasons, but the bottom line is, I don't know how it'll be paid. You won't get your money. You can always get your money back for things, but you can't get your time back. So we realize that you're busy people and you're giving your time, which you'll never get back. So we put 110% to make sure we deliver on it. And that's our promise to you. And as I said, if you are a vocational healthcare person, you really want to make a difference and you realize the old way isn't going to do it. We need new thinking. This is the program for you.
Absolutely. And John, even if it's just speaking out of costs out of pocket. So if you're fully funded in terms of social welfare, the program is completely free. If you are in full-time employment, it will only cost you 10% of full fees. So that's €380 to do a postgraduate certificate with Trinity College. And as I said, the applications are open. If you have any questions whatsoever, just contact us at springboard@tcd.ie. So it's springboard@tcd.ie as opposed to the Springboard website, which will just bounce you to us anyway. And like I said, there's level 8 to apply. We do take in a very small number of candidates with recognition of prior learning, but contact us if you want more information about that. And yeah, it's really, we're really looking forward to this one, and we see such incredible activity. Just going to see this. Hi, Jill and John. Scope to develop an idea I've been grappled with. How do ideas get? Oh, Liz, absolutely. If you have an idea, bring it to the table. There will always be different pockets that you'll be able to develop the idea in. And we can talk, if you do have something that you really particularly want to develop out, chat to us and we'll see if there's potentially a way to integrate that into the program, like make sure that you get time to do it. That will be absolutely no problem at all. So please do get in touch with us and apply. Is it every Friday, Saturday for 20 consecutive weeks? It is not. It's not. It's a great question. So starting in January, there are 4 weekends per module. So there's either a 1 week or a 2 week gap between them. It's timetable dependent. So because anyone who's ever had to timetable anything consecutively after Christmas, you know the bank holidays and bank holiday weekends do make everything really, really challenging. So it's non-consecutive weekends, 12 weekends in total over a full period of about 20 weeks. I hope that makes sense. So you have 12 contact weekends, 4 weekends per module. How is the course assessed? Great question. And I'm so sorry I didn't address this. We don't do exams for this particular course because it's quite hard to examine innovation, but it is continuous assessment. So every module will have a project that's either done as a group or individually. It'll have a presentation that's either done as a group or individually, and you will have a reflection that's done individually. So part of what we do, because it's experiential learning, you're learning by doing. What we ask you to do is at the end of each module, we ask you to write a reflective essay. So it's an exercise in metacognition. John and I keep using that word mindset, and the reflection asks you to narrate that mindset shift that you're experiencing. So once again, you're really embedding that learning and getting comfortable with those new perspectives, and you're able to articulate those changes. So yeah, thanks a million, Liz. Really hope to see you. Oh, fantastic. Great. So yeah, there's a lot of information on the Tangent website as well. So please don't hesitate. You can either contact us on springboard@tcd.ie, or there is a live chat function available Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. And there's a phone number, there's a mobile number that you can call during business working hours as well. So if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. John, any closing remarks before we move to Dr. Keogh's video?
No, well, just to say that people who do the course, I applaud them. It's great for them to give up this amount of their time and to really invest in their careers. And I look forward to seeing them on the program.
Absolutely. John, can't wait to I'm looking forward to doing some more planning activities with you. Everyone in the audience, really hope to see you again on the program in a few very short weeks. Gosh, how are we almost at the end of October? January is only a few short weeks away. We're going to show you a video from Dr. Alison Keogh, who is the Module 3 coordinator and facilitator. And we're thrilled to have Alison on board. So Alison's going to tell you a little bit about the program, and we hope to see your names in the applications. And have a lovely evening, everyone. Get in touch with us if we can be of any help with anything, and the very best of luck. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Hi, my name is Alison Keogh and I'm based in the School of Medicine here in Trinity College, and I'm one of the educational leaders for the postgraduate certificate in healthcare innovation. I'm sorry I can't be here with you today, but I've pulled together some brief information which will hopefully give you an indication about what this course is about and what to expect from the student side of things. So I suppose the first question is, why are we even looking at innovation in healthcare in the first place? And I think most of us would agree that in recent times, technology, data science, AI have all combined to provide us with this unprecedented access to new information about everything in life. And so it would make sense really that we would try to see how these changes would also work in the healthcare space. And in fact, some people would actually say that healthcare is going through a kind of a Gutenberg moment or a total paradigm shift, where we're fundamentally changing how it's going to work in the future. So the hope is that by integrating new ideas and solutions that we will benefit patients, improve their outcomes, increase service efficiency, understand more about certain conditions, identify new treatment methods, and maybe even diagnose things faster. But to do this, we obviously need new ideas and we need to integrate them into the current system or change the current system so that it responds to these new changes. But what are these new changes? Where do we even start developing them? And then how do we know if they're worth exploring? And so this, I suppose, is where the education comes in. So Ireland has a healthcare innovation strategy that aims to develop leaders and champions in this space through various steps. And as you can see here, the certificate really means that the learnings that come from this course set students up to really promote this topic and potentially take the next step to be an innovation leader through the diploma that's also on offer. And the certificate does this by focusing on problem solving, idea generation, and collaboration. So at the end of the course, the aim is that students will be confident, that they'll possess the skills needed to action these ideas. And it doesn't necessarily need to be the next big thing. It could be a micro innovation for a particular department. But the point is that at the end of the course, you're going to be comfortable in starting this process, in recognizing where the problems are, and in articulating how innovation can actually take place in a range of different environments within the healthcare system. And it does this by merging together academic expertise from Trinity and idea generating activities and expertise from the Tangent Centre, and merging them to provide a good overview of and practical skills in terms of how to innovate. So the course runs over a 20-week period and it's split into 3 modules, each of which is worth 10 credits. These modules build from each other in order to bring students from a point where they're comfortable sitting in the problem space to where they can build kind of all the pieces of the puzzle together into a definitive innovation plan. And typically courses are held or modules are held over 4 weekends, which consists of half a day on Friday and the full day of the Saturday for each of those individual weekends. So module 1 kicks off in late January and goes through to February. And the aim of this module, which is called Innovation and Creativity in Healthcare, is to get people thinking a little bit differently than maybe what they're used to. So considering some of the different frameworks that exist and helping, I suppose, us to recognize problems and generate ideas from that. Moving on then, module 2 starts to consider then how these problems can be communicated. So this is called opportunity generation, recognition, and communication. So how do we decide which problems to focus on, when and how? And when we decide this, then how do we communicate with others to bring them into our journey and into our vision as to how that they can be changed? Finally, then in May and June, we have enterprise development in healthcare, and this really brings all the pieces together by asking students to actually develop a potential venture and then pitch it to us, sort of like a Dragon's Den type scenario. So in essence, they take all the learnings from the first two modules, so students can now identify a problem to be solved, consider how it can be solved, and pitch the way that they would do it from the perspective of multiple stakeholders within the environment. Now, although the key part of this certificate is that students understand innovation and have the skills and confidence to go and promote it, because this is an educational course, it comes with assessments. So typically in each module, there is a project, there is a presentation, and then there's a reflection piece about, I suppose, your learnings from it. So some of these are undertaken individually and some of them are undertaken in a group scenario. But typically these are the methods of assessment. So there is a mix, and probably most importantly to potential students, there's no exams or anything written in that way associated with this course. So the final thing then is you're probably wondering who this course is aimed at, and essentially anyone who is passionate about changing healthcare. You don't need to be in industry or be a business person. You don't need to be a healthcare professional, but you can be any of those things. So anything involving innovation, it's actually better if we get a mixture of people together from different backgrounds, because that way they can learn from each other, and our different experiences and perspectives will obviously build on that. So whether you're coming from an administrative background, clinical, entrepreneurial, pharmaceutical, science, if this is an area that you're interested in and you meet the eligibility criteria, then you can apply. So that's a very quick overview of the certificate. I know you're going to hear more about eligibility and funding now, but if you have further information, the course brochure is available online. There's contact details there to send queries to, and hopefully I will see some of you in the not too distant future for the coming course this year.